Hello, I'm Jerry Criss. I'm a fly tyer and fly fisherman out of Lapine, Oregon. That's in the central part of the state. We're going to do what I call TLF deer hair emerger. I'm going to use a partridge hook. It's a partridge Klinkenheimer, and I'm going to tie this on this is an 18. It doesn't look like an 18, but in the English version it is. I'm going to put the hook in the vise at a strange position because I'm going to wind way down the bend of it, okay? And we're going to come up. I'm going to come wind right in the bend because I'm going to put a shuck in here. Oh, lost the thread. Bite first. And it's a little hard to do it because of the shape of this hook. Now the shuck is just going to be some pieces of Antron or poly, whatever you have. It can be clear to tan. Don't go any darker than a tan. Cream. I like what they call clear to white. And it's just going to be very short piece coming right out of the tail. I'm going to leave those little long butts long right now. And we're just going to tie that. We're just going to take a couple of wraps to hold it. Okay. Now we're going to use a material that I found. It's called, Danville makes it. It's a nylon, a stretch floss, and you can see that it has a stretching quality to it. It's kind of neat. You can make really beautiful tapered bodies, makes great chronomids. It comes in basic colors, so brown, red, black, and green. There may be an orange now, but anyway, so your color variation is very limited. So now I'm going to tie this in with that other material because we're going to have a nice even body here. Take a couple of wraps back. I'm going to hang it out of the way. I'm going to take a real fine silver wire and we're going to make a silver wire rib. As soon as I find the end of this, it expanded on me here. And you want real fine, and silver is the wire that works on this, by the way. This also will work on a light wire scud hook, and I tie it up to a 14 down to an 18, okay? Even a light wire scud hook, but I've been working with this partridge hook, and it seems to be working as well as those. And it's a little lighter wire. Now I'm going to wind this thread forward in touching wraps. I'm going to try to lay down all that material. Now I'm going to get to a point here where I've got to fix the attitude. Raise that hook up into the normal position there. With the scud hooks, you really don't have to do that. With this Klinkenheimer, because it is so long, it's the only way to handle it and do this. Otherwise, you're tying at this strange angle. I'm going to bring that up and just lay that down. Oh, if that's a little rough, it's not going to hurt anything. We can straighten out the attitude even more. There. Now I am going to have to get that straight angle to get this body in, but it's okay. I'm going to pull so I get the body fine. Keep my thread out of the way. As I come forward, I'm going to relax the tension. Now this floss fractures a little bit, starts to get frayed a little bit. It's not going to hurt this fly at all because this fly is an emerger, so any kind of disturbance in the body or anything really isn't detrimental to it. You just don't want it real fat and ugly. I find the finer you can get it, the better it works too. It's a great lake fly. I fish it during calabatus hatches. It seems to do really well. I'm going to take the wire around one time. And then I'm going to bring it forward in nice even wraps. And when I get up here in front, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and just snap it off. Then I'll put some locking wraps of thread. And I'm going to build a little thread base here because we're going to put a little deer hair wing in here. And I want to tie the deer on a base. I don't want to tie it to a hook shank. I'm going to check that chuck out a little bit. I may trim it just a little bit there. All right, so now we're ready for the deer. And you can use a tan to a dun color. This one's got some tan in it. And I like the finer hair. I think it's better for this. Just cut yourself out a batch. I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to spread it and pinch it with all I have. I'm going to hold it, pinch it again, clean out the tips. And if there's anything that looks ugly, I clean it up now. And we're going to put it in a hair stacker. A couple of good taps. Now, one of the things about hair stacking is you always want to pull out the hair in the direction that you're going to tie it in. Why should you pull it out backwards and have to turn it around in your hand? So I'm going to tie it in that way, so I'm going to turn it this way. And there's my tips. Looking pretty good. Pinch it. I got one wild one. So now I'm going to come up. I'm going to keep this on top, get my length, one little soft wrap, second soft wrap, and then I'm going to pull it. Pull it again, and then I'm going to go into it. And then I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to stroke it up and drive it up. Oop. Pop the hook right out of the vise. Guess that shows how hard I was pulling on it. Okay, so now we'll pull the fibers back and we'll drive the thread and we'll drive that deer hair up. Now, unlike an elk hair caddis, or actually like an elk hair caddis, we're going to leave the butt ends in here. We're not going to try to cover them up with thread. That's not our goal. That just adds bulk, and this thing will float better if we don't do that. So there's our wing. Looks pretty good in the front. I'm going to take my nail, I'm going to push right down in the tie-in point, and that spreads it out a little bit. I'm going to take the thread back into the gap, pull now with some really nice, right over those original wraps, my original tie-in wrap. Clean up any wild ones. Now we're going to take a furnace hackle, which is this red, and we're going to put a hackle in right in that gap. If you want, we can take little head cement and lay right on those thread wraps right in that thing. Give a little more security to that. I find if you tie it in through the hair when it was standing up like that, you don't have to do that. It's pretty secure. Now we're going to find a hackle that's about 1.5 times the hook gap. Something like that. I'm going to strip it down, pull, pull, pull. Okay, kind of stroke it forward so you don't lay anything to the back, and tie this hackle stem right in there. And you want the concave looking backwards. Now, you see I left the stem all the way out? I'm going to pull this up, pull that hair up, and I'm going to take that stem and I'm going to drive it right up in the air right there. Drive it right back. So I can come in here and trim it off. That hackle's not coming out of there. Come in my hackle pliers. Push it all forward again. Wind right in the gap. 1, 2. Sometimes you can get 3 in there. I'm only going to put 2 in this one. And then we're going to go 1. Drag it all back. Keep it clean. 2. And then we're going to start my thread. Pull back on the hackle as I pull as the thread hits the stem, and that opens up a little V. Now I'm going to turn this a little bit. I don't know whether you can see that V or not, but there's a little V right where the feather and the stem and the thread meet, and this thread's going right through, and I'm not laying down any more barbs at all. So I'll stroke this back one more time. Now if I take this in here, I don't even have to snip my scissors on this. If I just take my scissors as close to the hook shank as I can and just push, that should cut that. If it doesn't, you need to get another pair of scissors. Now this I'm going to use a half-hitch tool for. And this half-hitch tool is real simple. It was just a dowel and an old bobbin that was cutting thread. Started to ruin thread, so I turned it into another tool. And we're just going to go 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, the opposite direction, and put those in. I'm going to push back a little bit, and you can you'll feel it snap closed. Run up, cut the thread, just let it saw itself. Now, how we fish this is we grip it just like this, and that's the only place we put floating, is from the tip of my fingers forward. And I use a dry desiccant type, and that's the only place. And how this fly sits in the water is about like that, and this would be the water level, something like that. So this fly actually will sit with this tail end sitting down in the water. It's kind of like it's emerging. And there you have TLF deer hair emerger.